I was meeting with one of the large banks, and they were telling me that in one of the buildings they have in the centre of Sydney, they normally have 3,000 to 4,000 people in there, and on an average workday now it's about 300, so 1/10.
Hey everyone, Chris here from AV Asia Pacific magazine, and I'm here with David Allara. He's Managing Director of Konnectus, which is an AV and ICT consultancy firm. And we're here for another AV lockdown conversation. Welcome, David.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
So I picked you as a bit of a workplace guru and how AV interfaces with the workplace. There's nothing in history that's impacted the workplace as much as COVID has. What's your upfront thoughts on what's just happened in the last 6 months?
Well, it certainly has impacted it. That's a bit of an understatement. I mean, from small businesses right up to very large organisations. Just earlier today, I was meeting with one of the large banks, and they were telling me that in one of the buildings they have in the centre of Sydney, they normally have 3,000 to 4,000 people in there, and on an average workday now it's about 300, so 1/10.
Wow.
Look at my business, which is a small organisation, sort of 9 to 10 people. We have full work from home situation at the moment. None of us are going to the office. That's probably a personal choice. I mean, the team just still don't really feel comfortable taking public transport every day and going to an office, and so I respect that, and we're all working from home. So definitely a different environment. It's small business. I find it's kind of hard to lead a team that way without having that personal face-to-face, connection each day. And I imagine it's got to be very difficult in larger or mid-sized or larger organisations as well, when there's many different teams and managers need to somehow connect and manage their teams and get things done. You can only do so much over video, and the technology is great, don't get me wrong. I think, back in February, March, a lot of scrambling was done quickly and effectively, to give credit where it's due. People were able to get on board with using products like Zoom and Skype for Business and or Teams even, and WebEx, are probably the main ones.
Yep.
Google Hangouts as well. So people have been able to get up and running, but it's been, I think, a bit of a very steep learning curve for some. And whilst working from home might be fine for someone like me, I've got a home office and not many distractions during the day. It's definitely not ideal for others.
What can we do successfully, and what is just really a bummer when it comes to working remotely?
I think the video platforms are good. I think you can collaborate pretty effectively, using video, and if you've got the right peripherals, cameras and microphones or headsets, depending on your situation, and you learn to use the screen sharing tools, I think you can actually get quite a lot done. A lot of people tell me they're actually more productive now working from home than they used to be in an office. Just good and bad, I suppose. It depends where your perspective's coming from. So
yeah, I think you hit on earlier, as a leader of a small team here, I hear that as well, but and it might be great for an employee, but not so great for a boss. It's harder to lead, and it's harder to train remotely, I think.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. You to try and lead someone or manage someone, I think, having a bit more of a close presence face to face, I think is just a lot easier. It's those small little short conversations or just even observations that make such a big difference, and you don't have that when you're all working remotely. So that's a bit of a disadvantage.
What's the changes mean for how we work post-COVID?
I think there's a lot of chatter about that at the moment, and I guess we won't really know until we sort of get closer to that and start trying a few different things, is probably the short answer. Everyone seems to have an opinion, but they're all just opinions based on no actual facts, no data. I think people are saying, "Oh, I like working from home, but I don't want to work from home full time. I'd like some sort of a hybrid model, and that might be 1 day a week in the office, or 2, 3, 4. It kind of depends. Seems to depend on the person, and what's that based on? I mean, I don't really know. So it's not that easy to solve. And then there's other theories that there'll be more satellite type arrangements where it won't be one sort of central large office somewhere, or it might be smaller ones in suburban locations, and that might be a better approach. So I think they all have pros and cons, but until you really start experimenting, you're probably not really going to find the answer. And customization is probably the key, depending on the people and the culture and the vision of the organisation. It might be, a case of looking at it from that perspective and trying something that aligns with those. Yeah.
But I guess what we do know is that there's going to be a much larger proportion who is working from home in future. So what does that mean for the commercial office environment and the meeting spaces and the environments that you're creating every year?
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with that. I think, compared to before February this year to now and into the future, I think there's going to be a lot more people working from home, or definitely an appetite for organisations to allow that. But it's going to come down also to what's the social distancing. How long is that going to go on for? Because if you think about it, you probably still need a lot of office footprint for less people to respect that social distancing. So that's a factor.
So just sorry to interrupt, but does that mean that there's not going to be a mass sell-off of CBD real estate, early next year, as far as you're concerned?
Well, you could argue that. I mean, that's. I read an article from a German publication which was saying that. They were sort of saying, well, we need to keep these large footprints even for smaller groups of people.
Mm-hmm. So you've recently completed, or at least a significant commercial fit out office fit out's been completed in Macquarie Park, which you designed the AV systems in that building.
Yep.
So I'm trying to be a bit careful with my wording here, but so we're okay to talk vaguely and anonymously about this office, but the reason why I wanted to bring it up was that it showcases the state of the art of how people currently want to meet and do business, albeit in a pre-COVID mindset. Do you want to just kind of describe to me this office and what you've done there?
Yeah, sure. It's a large building, with about 30,000 square metres of office space. Very large footprints spread across 6 floors. And there's over 100 spaces with, with AV or technology to be used for meetings and collaboration and whatnot. And there's different types of spaces, ranging from small little huddle spaces with different shapes and sizes. So some of them are small booths, and others are a little bit larger with sort of round D-shaped tables. Some are sort of stand-up style, others are sit-down style. Then you've got smaller meeting rooms for 6 to 8 people, and up to medium size with, sort of 10, 12, 14 people, and then very larger meeting rooms, boardroom style, large conference rooms that combine. So it caters for all types of, meetings or gatherings of people. And there's technology in all these spaces to facilitate, just simple content sharing or video calling, maybe, large presentations, interactivity. So the whole site is based on Microsoft Teams being the
platform of choice,
the heart or the platform.
Yep.
That's right. And the user experience is identical everywhere you go. So that's probably the key. One of the hardest things we worked on there. We tried to get it to minimal steps to connect, as we call it, minimal button pushes to get started. It might be automated, so 0, or it could be just one button to get started. Like press to join, very simple. And that was the idea, to try and make the technology invisible, but at the same time highly valuable for people to use in their meetings. So, the thing I'd say about that, it was all designed pre-COVID, and that was highly desirable because you've got lots of different options, and they're spread all across the floors, and you can kind of choose your own adventure, really, depending on the size of your group and what it is you wanted to get done. There's also some mobile Microsoft Surface hubs, which are Microsoft Teams as well. So you can roll those around and use those in small groups and gatherings. And it's, a plethora of choice. What would that mean post, well, we're in COVID now, and does it mean afterwards? Probably not a lot of difference. It's just that fewer people in the same space could be using the technology. I mean, there's people in there now. They've got people moved in, and they're using the systems and the rooms, and it's not at full capacity, of course. It's being closely managed.
It's almost like the technology at times is led for the sake of technology. The technology can do this now, so you should be doing this. You can draw on this screen, or you can share this facility. And in some ways, there'll be some organizations who'll be like, "That's amazing, but when would I want to do that?" And now, like, everybody's like, sort of, you need to give me the technology to be able to do this now, because I'm in a position where it's utterly crucial. So would you say that it's accelerated? What's it accelerated?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Chris. It's always been something that, as AV consultants, we've talked about with our clients, and before anything gets designed, we talk about their businesses and how they work as an organisation, how their people communicate, and how they get things done, and try and find out whether technology might be able to be useful, and then go from there. There's been a bit of a flip in the last 6 months. It's been, oh no, well, use this technology by brute force, and we want to keep using it. It's not so hard. They had all these imaginary barriers in their minds. I think a lot of these people, especially the older people, too hard, don't want to change. But actually, when change was forced upon them, I think a lot of people have found it's really not that hard, and the uptake in use has gone through the roof. So that's good for us, I think. The only issue is, when can you get people back in buildings, and how do you actually design the new offices or the rejigged offices? What does that look like?
Are you getting more demand for inquiries about people using their own devices to control systems, and the no-touch post-COVID push? Is that impacting on your customers, your clients at the moment?
I think that's got some traction. I think that has potential to become a more significant thing. I think in the past that's always been possible, but there's been a little bit of hesitation to get people using their own devices to control AV systems, just because some people are more capable than others. It's very generational. I think that the younger generation have absolutely no problem whatsoever, whereas the older generation maybe not so great at it, or get confused easily and easily kind of give up. So, when you have to design systems for multi-generations, getting down to the most simple common denominator seems to give us the most success, we find. So for now, based on what the generation makeup in the work environment is, you find yourself catering for Gen X, maybe not so much baby boomer. That's factored out, but I think now, as I understand it, Gen Y is making up almost 40% of the workforce anyway. So moving towards that, use your own device to control, makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And so how do you do the no-touch control in the Macquarie Park job? Is it sort of occupancy sensors, or how do you...
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
I mean, first of all, it's minimal options. So you can either wirelessly present, or there is an HDMI cable as well as a backup. But in most cases, you walk in, the system's on, and you can just wirelessly present straight away. If you don't want to choose wireless, you can connect to cable, so that's just one connection. It's automatically on the screen. And if it's a Teams call, generally they're pre-booked through Outlook, and so you just walk in and it's join. And so it's as simple as that. I guess the nice thing is, because it is a Microsoft Teams platform, there's a fairly simple and scaled back user interface already. So we didn't want to add any additional layers of complexity. We just sort of tried to automate the front end using occupancy sensors, or automated switching between wireless presenter and HDMI input. Yeah.
Yep. Do you think that in the lockdown that everybody's been exposed to multiple VC platforms? Everybody's been on Zoom. Your clients, a Teams outfit. Today we're on old school Skype. It's good to be back, I've got to say. I must point out that's on me, not on you. So is there a growing expectation that people can bring their own VC, bring their own meeting, use whatever is on their phone or whatever's on their laptop, that they don't want to be tied to a specific platform?
I think so. I think that's been around for a few years now already. People just get accustomed to using one platform and want to use it. The headache is then in the back end and trying to make everything work together seamlessly. That's usually the challenge. So whilst they're all great platforms by themselves, getting that cohesion, that ability to easily talk, just like phone calls, is still not perfect and seamless, I would say. So not everyone understands that. You go from using your phone and doing a Skype call or a FaceTime or something. It's all so easy, and then in the corporate world, in video conferencing, it all of a sudden doesn't seem so easy, and people don't understand that. So anyway, that's one of the challenges that AV designers have to overcome with IT, of course.
Sure. So what is IT after COVID going to have to be a little more meet in the middle? Or are there just going to be more allowances for having kind of parallel or siloed systems that allow people to, use Wi-Fi, do what they need to do without, stepping on ICT's toes?
Look, I think that is going to come down to organisation by organisation. Some organisations will want to have the power themselves and the control over what platform is used, because then if it's a platform of their choice, it's easier for them to control and manage. Others might be the opposite. They might want to give more freedom and choice to their staff and guests, because they believe that's important, and they'll somehow try to manage that as best they can, or they'll leave it up to the people themselves to manage and deal with, because that's also an option. At the end of the day, I think it's not a one size fits all, but definitely the trend I see, because we deal generally with large organisations, public and private. They like to dictate the platform, and I think that's just easier when you're dealing with thousands of people. It's less headaches and easier to manage. Yeah.
Hey, look, thanks for your time today. I have to ask you pretty much the same question I ask everybody. What's been your lockdown side hustle? How's your sourdough baking going?
I don't really have a side hustle. I'm getting a bit fitter, so I've been running a bit more, so that's good. I wish I was out playing a bit more golf, but I haven't done too much of that. Maybe over the summer. We've actually had a very busy year. We weren't expecting to be this busy. Certainly in March, once things got serious, I wasn't expecting to have a busy year.
But yeah, good to hear that you guys are doing okay, and look forward to talking to you again when on the other side.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, David. Thanks for the chat.